Gentlemen, I move that we reconvene the open session.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nollenberg. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Tonight's meeting is being digitally recorded. Is this meeting? I get feedback.
It's a little.
Okay, Mr. Gould, would you please be so kind as to lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so tonight the Board of Education took no action in closed session. We have the special honor of having a presentation tonight from the, I have a senior moment here, Tempke High School robotics team. Please take the floor. Okay. No, we don't have
Toys.
Before they start, Mr. Bortelli, would you please stand? First of all, model that outstanding shirt from the Rose Bowl game. And we just want to publicly thank you for taking the time for not only leading and supporting the students, but for being here as well.
Thank you. Ask me later. Alright, so I'll just start with our presentation today. So, hi, I'm William, and I'm the current captain of this team. So what we've accomplished this year, that we built on from last year. So last year we was our first year in the First Tech Challenge, which is a international robotics competition that we participated in. During our rookie season, we had 2 competitions and we won one of them, but that wasn't enough for us to qualify for the regional competition, which is the best 49 teams out of the whole Southern California region. This year, we had the opportunity to host several competitions at our high school, which did help with our publicity in FTC. So during our competitions, we actually we did really well, except for the first one, which we had some trouble. And then we also had a interleague competition at Monrovia High School, which is a league of 24 teams from around the region, including Monrovia's 5 teams that they have in their program. And their teams are considered one of the best in our region. So we did really well at our interleague competition too, because we actually placed second. We were the finalist alliance for the competition, which allowed us to advance to regionals. And the regionals are the best 49 teams out of a total of 169 teams in Southern California this year. So that was a good honor to take part in. So these are our awards that we got this year. So we got the PTC Design Award for the CAD and robot design. So that was a really good thing, because the criteria for getting that award was having a really good CAD design, which our CAD team did really good on, and having the robot perform pretty competent on the field during competition. We brought some stuff that we made for a competition today, which includes the robot and our clipboard, which we showed to other teams to advertise what we did during the season. So our robot is on the floor right now, and unfortunately, currently it can't move since we don't have our controllers and our guns to control it. But our robot's functions are laid out on this whiteboard, and we named it Spike Money, which was a very good name.
Debatable.
So right here we have some pictures from competition and during our meetings when we were working on several variations of our robot and when we won final our trophies from the intro competition. We also have our code and our hardware on the right side of the poster. So we also want to give a big shout out to our sponsors and advisors, supporters, and mentors this season, because without them we would not have the opportunity to take part in this amazing program. And we also missing one thing. Oh yeah, Selena, would you like to talk about your story?
My name is Selena Sue, and I'm a first-year member of this team. When I first joined this team, I felt that I wouldn't fit in because the majority of the team are guys, and there are only 4 girls. So I thought I wouldn't fit in, but after like a year has passed, I'm really, really happy to call this team my family, and I've learned a lot. I also designed the shirts for this year. And it's like I've learned a lot through also being a referee for our league meets at school. Oh yeah, these are pictures from our league meets.
Yep, Selena's on the bottom picture, she's in the corner, and the referee.
The ref shirt.
Yeah, the striped shirt.
And overall, I think it was really memorable because I could learn a lot, and also I met a lot of new people this year, and it was just kind of like a whole new experience for me because it's like a different group of kids because like I'm a part of ASB, and usually people are like, oh, ASB is like really loud, but like everyone here is like, I guess it's like a whole new different group of friends. And yeah, it was a really great experience for me, and I don't regret it at all.
Okay, hi, I'm Eileen, and I'm a third-year member of FTC and a second-year member of the high school team. So basically, in short, I want to reiterate what all the other team members said. So we started off our season as a group of 15 of us, not really knowing each other, all from different backgrounds. So this was kickoff in September, where we learned what we had to do for the season. And we moved on to league meets after 3 months of building, programming, testing. And I'm proud to say that Temple City was able to host this year, meaning that Temple City students were able to get involved with being a referee like Selena or being pit runners around food sales. And then after that, we advanced from our league meets to interleague tournaments, where, as William said, we were very successful. We were able to advance to regionals. And another thing we did was outreach. So what we did was we reached out to the other members of the Temple City community and around the SGV area. So we did go to Longden, and we did reach out to the second graders there. We took some time off school, and we showed them how our robot works. We were also there at the TCHS Spring Showcase, and we had some students from APU come and exchange stuff. They were engineering majors. And another part of robotics is, you see, we've won 3rd place Compass Award and the 2nd place Promote Award. These are video awards that Janine, would you please stand up, Janine? That Janine so graciously edited for us. So this is the one that we did for this year. This is our Promote Award. So yeah, I should probably escape. So here's our Promote Award that won 2nd place at the Interleague tournament.
and teach the value of teamwork. You spark interest in their minds. You exhibit the power of compassion. Mentorship encourages professionalism and hopes to better ourselves and enlighten those around us through volunteering and reaching out to our community.
Here we go. Families on 3. 1, 2, 3.
This is how we will go first.
So as you can see, we put a lot of emphasis on going out to the younger generations because when they go to high school, they're always welcome to go into robotics or fields that are generally advancing, especially in technology. So since I know we're short on time, I'd just like to close up really fast. So on behalf of the Ramroids, I'd like to sincerely thank the school board and the school's foundation for their vigorous support throughout our season. And we will continue to grow together as a Ramroids, as a team and as a family. And we will strive for the best to represent TC in FIRST programs. So we hope you will continue to support us in our many successful seasons to come. Thank you.
Any questions?
Actually, I do. All right, you guys are amazing, by the way, just so you guys know. And I want to ask a question for some of you guys that have been with this group for maybe a little bit longer than some of your newer members. If anybody could tell me if you could describe your experience, or these experiences for the last few years, in a very short 2 or 3 word summary, what would come to mind?
2 or 3 words.
That was 3 words.
I'll start. It's going to be more than 3 words. I apologize. I stepped into this this year, and so I learned this year that I can learn a lot from our students as well as they can learn from me. But I learned a lot. I learned so much from them. This year was a lot of fun.
All right, that's awesome. And I just also want to say that for a team that's so young and just really, are you guys about 3 years old now? Or
2 years.
2 years old. You guys have done some pretty impressive, amazing things, and I want you guys to keep going, and I can tell you guys are having a lot of fun, so keep up the great work, and thank you.
Thank you.
This is more of an observation, but it seems the robotics club is a great opportunity for the kids to look at solving a problem as a team and not as an individual. And there's a lot of side advantages coming out of robotics besides just winning tournaments with a nice robot. But to give oral presentations, to do the design work, to work as a group, those are just some of the side benefits, and there's probably more. And the team is doing exceptionally well, I think, for the number of years that they've had to practice. And the quicker we can incorporate some of the skills into classrooms, the better off I think we will be, and they will be.
John?
Oh, sure, I'll try to be short. We're all very excited for you, and it's fun for me to see some faces that I've seen before, and it's always fun to see students that I've seen doing other things, whether it's playing music, playing sports, and then also doing something like this. It really shows in our district how we're supporting students in all areas. I did just have a quick question. I'm interested in groups like yours, how you pick your student leaders, and when you're all together, how do you decide who's in charge? And so I'm wondering, have you chosen who will be a leader next year?
Stand up.
My name is Nathan, and I'm currently the captain-elect of next year's team. Our team does center the election process on one day, a single day, but I know that my my election into office is not solely based on one tournament or one meeting. It's how we as a group have performed throughout the entire season and support each other.
I appreciate you coming to talk to us about what you've been doing. You know, we're all pretty proactive, trying to seek out what the students are doing. You know, with the support that we are very happy to provide. We go out of our way to give everything that we can to you so you can do your magic and represent us the way you do. You know, other schools talk about Temple City and the robotics, and they're envious of what you've done in just 2 years. They don't know you've only been around for 2 years, and I certainly don't say nothing. But I'm very proud, everyone's very proud of what you've done. You know, we're not on you all the time, we're not around you all the time, but we do pay attention to what's going on. We do look to see what scores are, you know, where you're competing at. Unfortunately, a lot of times it conflicts with some of the other sites who have things going on too, and we're kind of with the younger kids more, which, you know, I think we can probably do something about that. But just to let you know, we do watch, we do know what you're doing, and we are extremely proud of what you've accomplished in such a short time. I'd like to know if do you get to fabricate any of your parts for the robots?
I mean, like make ourselves.
You have to make your own parts,
Yeah.
at all? And you get to use the 3D printing?
Right, yeah,
For
yes,
that?
we do.
Okay, so you have what you need as far as that capability?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm jazzed. I think it's really cool what you're doing, and thank you so much for coming and sharing it with us so that we can see firsthand, what it is that's happening out there.
So as I said when you came in, thank you, because we know you're busy. As Mr. Palmer indicated, many of you are involved in more than just robotics. So we appreciate that, and there's a group seated over there that is important to this process as well, and that's your parents and those of them that were able to come this evening. Thank you for your support, because we know we can provide some of the monetary support and provide great staff that works with the students, but we can only do so much. As you know, without supportive parents, our jobs are much more challenging, so thank you for doing that. William, we just have a small token of our appreciation. Oh, Charles, nice of you to drop by.
Hello.
Charles did indicate today he was going to be late.
I'm so sorry.
He heard we were giving just a little token of our appreciation, so you're probably standing outside, weren't you? So we just have one of our district card drives that I will give to William, and he'll make sure that each of you get one just as a token of our appreciation. And as we indicated, it's the awards are nice, but we're more interested in opportunity and learning and making sure you have what you need for your future endeavors. So thank you for your commitment. Thanks for representing our district so well, and we continue to look forward to more and more students becoming involved in computer science in Temple City and robotics. So thank you.
Even though we were allocated 10 minutes for this agenda item, which you are so awesome, we took 20. We would be very much appreciated if you would take a picture with us.
Yeah, let's do it.
Go to the front of the desk.
Edward, not Edward, Eric, get in. Okay, you're tall, you're tall. You just. What to do while waiting. Tim is staying on Macy's, he'll help us out.
Bring the robot and all the.
Actually,
We'll all just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially that,
Speak loudly, and if they can hear you. Oh.
can you turn it around this way so the green part is facing in front? There you go. All right, okay, here we go. Want to see everybody's face? You got Charles.
Wait, let me see.
Charles is too
All
tall.
right, we're
Closer.
Look. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
I just get out.
We're gonna let you go, so if he'll excuse you, you don't have to stay here. Or you can actually go now if you want. So,
I'm a supporter.
Thank you guys.
Like to stay, you're welcome to stay. If you would like
I gotta go.
go.
See you guys tomorrow.
And I'm gonna call you
Tell your mom
Santa Cruz one? Did Mr.
The trash. Just pretend to get over
Okay, is there any public comments on any agenda items?
Take it out.
This next meeting? Hearing no requests. District updates, business services.
Good evening, a quick update on the bond. So at the high school, the interior painting for the classrooms is in progress, as well as the finalization of the casework installation. The exterior grading is going to be completed shortly so the hardscape can be installed, and the landscape irrigation is being installed. For the phase 1B, which is the pool, locker room, and field renovation, the plans have been reviewed by DSA and returned to the architect for some revision and clarification. Longden Elementary, the contractor is on site and demolition and abatement has begun in the first 8 classrooms. For Cloverly Modernization Phase 2 and La Rosa Phase 2, we're meeting to go through scope with the architect. One other item today, we have some information about Senate Bill 751, which is related to the reserve cap. It will now move on to the Senate appropriations. If it passes, this will help get rid of the idea of reserves for some of the funding, which should be very helpful to all of those school districts. And it will not allow the state to sweep money for the excess reserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Educational services.
Good evening. I just have a few things. We're in the midst of our LCAP survey. The link is on our website, our updated website, and I'm hoping that everyone has the opportunity to respond. It's a pretty short piece, and we have an element for community, board members, staff, and students so that we can help inform our LCAP plan. It also includes questions about climate so that we can be aligned with one of our local indicators that we'll need to do in the future, as you'll hear from our dashboard presentation a little later on. I also wanted to just once again commend the students who came and presented about robotics. We appreciate the ramrods and the other outstanding STEAM teams that we've had this year, and we hope that you can come and see them and other students through our K-12 opportunities.
because we're having our first ever STEAM Expo this Friday night at the high school, and there will be from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and then if you feel so inclined, even afterwards, there'll be a theatrical presentation as well. So we hope that you can come and see that. I want to take the time right now to thank Dr. Suman Chow and the STEAM coordinators from all of the sites, because it cannot be done without them. We're really proud of our collaboration with teachers and classified staff on this one. They really worked hard, and I'm sure that it's going to be a success. And I just wanted to share, if you see this flyer around town, this was created by a elementary student at Cloverly, so we really had some participation, not only with teachers and staff, but the students at ASB from all of the sites really participated, so we're excited to see that. Thank you.
Thank you. Personnel services?
It's hard to believe how quickly the school year goes by. We are now distributing nomination forms for our employees of the year. So I'm hoping by our next meeting that we will have the honorees here to present to you. So I wish everybody good luck.
Thank you. Any bargaining unit comments?
No.
Our student board member is not present tonight.
That's when I'm just traveling college touring.
Oh, that will be important. She couldn't Skype in her comments? Anyway, board member comments. Mr. Gould, please.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to congratulate the robotics team, not only at the high school, but all the elementary schools that participated in the STEAM night. Really looking forward to this Friday's presentations from the district-wide. And I participated with our superintendent at Western City College, my alma mater, and the presentation that they are doing for the San Diego Valley school districts, participate with them. And also their announcement that they are going to be funding the first year's tuition for all the seniors at different high schools and stuff, Tennessee, including Missouri stuff. And it's a good, certainly exciting part of being able to go there. Also want to congratulate the Brightside singers that went to New York and Boston. They participated at the Carnegie Hall. There were 6 other groups that were there, and we all participated with them. Each group had one person that they took aside, and they worked with some coaches and stuff, and then they chose one person to sing at Carnegie Hall. All by themselves and stuff, and they first had to be from Tempke City High School, which is a great honor. It shows that our commitment to performing arts and stuff in the Tempke City district is very good. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nolberg, please.
Just a couple of things. The youth committee, which is made up for the city, gave a presentation last night on some of the items that they have studied for the city on economics and on environmental. And out of the, I think it's 10 members, 7 of them are Temple City High School seniors, or go to Temple City High School at least. Also, I had the pleasure of going to the comedy sports, which was at the high school, and it was the ASB versus the regular team. That's probably one of the reasons why there was such a big crowd, a larger crowd than usual, because it filled up probably 2/3 of the room, 601. And it was, I think, a very good example of our dramatic department teaching, because it helps the people who participate get to learn how to improvise and be able to speak with very little notice, be able to come up with very witty sayings. Also, I went to the Civil War thing at Oak, which was very nice. I listened to two of the presentations, and it's very historical and very interesting to hear the historical part of the Civil War firsthand. Also got to pick up one of the guns, which was about 10 pounds, which is rather heavy, I think, but just a personal opinion. Also, I'd like to thank the robotics team for their presentation tonight. And also, hopefully everybody had a Good Friday, Passover, and Easter for the last week of that. And then also coming up on May 6th is the gala that the Temple City School Foundation is going to put on for raising money to help support some of the projects, including the robotics. They gave a lot of the seed money in that. So hopefully a lot of people will be able to attend the May 6th gala, which I think is a Saturday. That's it.
Mr. Bill?
Good evening, everyone. And I want to echo the sentiments of my fellow board members as well. I want to thank our high school Ramblers team for gracing us with their presence this evening. It's a great example of the great things that I believe we are doing collaboratively here in this district in all aspects, all areas. And I think I see the high school's TEDx leadership back there, and thank you for being here. I remember you guys, another outstanding group. I would like to congratulate all of our sites for being named on an honor roll for 2016. In specific, I want to congratulate both Oak Avenue and Temple City High School for being accepted as the Gold Ribbon Award recipient. So I'm very ecstatic. I know both sides worked really, really hard to accomplish this goal. So congratulations out to everyone on both school sites. I was able to take part in the State Science Olympiad tournament with both our high school and middle school teams. And I am really, really proud of their accomplishments, given that it is a fairly stiff competition, all of Southern California. So both teams played very well, and I think they had great experience from this event, and they got the chance to see their peers all across the land. So looking forward to more fun events like that, and of course the STEAM event this Friday. We will be there to help out as well. So that is my report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Palmer?
Thank you. Well, as I said, it was very exciting to see the Ramroy team and some students that I remember when they were teeny. They're not so small anymore, with one exception. She's still kind of short, but she's a real dynamo, and it was fun to see her tonight and to see all of them, and to look forward to next year and hearing more about what they do. It's a great example of the clubs and activities at the high school. As Mr. Nolenberg said, the comedy sports event last weekend was very much fun. I went to that. Comedy sports is a particular type of improvisational theater which is done by professionals and students in many places around the world. I had a chance recently to see a professional group do it, and then Friday night I saw that, and I have to say I was pretty impressed with our students, and as Mr. Nolenberg said, how quickly they were able to come up with things. Especially the ASB students who had not really been going to the sessions and were given instructions that day, and they were comfortable getting up there and saying things and only occasionally crossing the line of bad taste and having a brown paper bag put on their head. About the PCC thing, I just want to commend our superintendent and ed services in general, because that announcement about the program at PCC with the tuition being paid, we were mentioned in news coverage about that, and Temple City has more than once been mentioned in connection with PCC. And looking at other districts around us, I have to say, I really think we're taking the lead, and it's clear that we're taking the lead in connecting with PCC and career technical education and other things. So I want to commend our superintendent for and dual enrollment and all the other buzzwords related to that, for pursuing that. Finally, I had a chance to see some JV softball and baseball this week, which was fun. I wouldn't say the fielding was always clean, but it was fun to see them playing, and one of those young men that we saw here tonight with the robot was playing baseball, so it's fun to see examples of students like that. Thank you.
With the amount of time we spent on comments, I won't repeat. Everything is repeatable. I have something to say about lots of it. So I'll just echo the sentiments. And I'll just add to a shout out to our high school drumline units that is right now in Dayton, Ohio, competing in the Nationals drumline competition out there. It's their first year of qualifying. They flew out, I think, yesterday morning. And they received their shipment of instruments, and now they're reassembling everything. They had it all be taken apart to be shipped. So, think of them, wish them luck. They're up against the best in the country, and they worked hard, and I know they'll do us proud. Thank you. Superintendent comments.
Well, thank you, President Marston.
Oh, big time.
I was going to cover a number of things, but thank you, Board, for doing that for me, because I appreciate it. I just want to make sure that we acknowledge publicly to the amount of work that goes into all the things that we value on the part of our staff, both certificate and support staff, and the efforts they put forth with our kids. We have a lot of great things going on. We have had a number of opportunities of late to be at the sites, reviewing the scope of work and construction, and just to see the level of excitement and the opportunities really for our kids. And you'll see again another example of the fine work and the commitment of the staff that encourages and supports our students basically to do and pursue whatever they desire to do. And tomorrow night too, you'll see some of our former students that are coming back that are now collegians that are coming to support the STEAM Expo as well. So thank you for the opportunity that you provide for us both financially and just to give us really collective permission to move ahead to offer opportunities for students. It makes our jobs collectively much more enjoyable and easier, so thank you.
Well, as always, thank you. I think we'd be nearly as successful without your leadership. All right, moving on, written communications. We've received a letter from the Los Angeles County Office of Education. The county superintendent has completed a review of the district's 2016-17 second interim reports. They concur with the district's positive certification. If you wish to read more detail on this, it's on the back table, and we will file this for public view. Okay, we are moving on to our discussion information item portion of our agenda. These are items that the board would like to discuss or information presented to the board. These items do not require board action. First on that agenda is item 18, which is our review of our Williams complaint quarterly summary for January 1st through March 31st. Dr. Kissler.
Thank you. Yes, this is for our third quarter for our school year. And there were no complaints from the sites or the district surrounding instructional materials, facilities, and teacher vacancies or misassignments. So we were able to certify that and have it signed by this mayor's superintendent.
Outstanding. Moving on to item 19 is our TEDx presentation by, again, Dr. Kissler.
Good evening again. Get to stand up for a moment. So I am going to pretend that just for a moment I am Mr. Scott Randalls, and since he's not here today, I just wanted to just do a little introduction of your fine work, and then you can come up. So I just wanted to share that communication and collaboration are two areas that are really emphasized in 21st century skills. And in fact, the latest iteration of our state standards emphasizes speaking and listening in order to develop college and career readiness, or what we call in our language CC and our standards. And these standards anchor all of our standards across all the grade levels and across all of the disciplines that we teach, K through 12. TED Talks help our children and our students achieve the goals of speaking and listening standards. TED stands for Technology, Engineering, and Design, and TED Talks were started in the mid-1980s by individuals concerned about innovation. TED Talks have now become a platform for all kinds of learning and opportunities to collaborate and communicate. So we proudly present our TEDx Temple City High School students tonight so that they can share their beginnings and their accomplishments.
Keep your hands off.
It's like when it goes on sleep.
You can actually
Sometimes it can pick up again.
It was on before they came up.
Hello, and thank you for having us here. My name is Krista Long, and I'm the president and organizer of TEDx Temple City HS.
My name is Samantha Chen. I am the co-organizer and marketing and communication managers of TEDx.
Hello, my name is Janine Huang. I am also a co-organizer, and I'm the manager of production and design.
Hi, my name is Allison Chen, and I'm the incoming president for next week. Okay. So TEDx is a media organization that is a part of TED, and its main goal is to allow communities like ours to host TEDx events so that we may also spread ideas from both pre-recorded TED videos and local speakers. TEDx Temple City HS is a student-run nonprofit organization that was given a license by TED so that we may host youth events at the high school. Our organizer personally applied for a license and also applied for 2 licenses, one so that she can host a TEDx event, and another one where we can actually have an event with more than 100 people. Our main goal is also to share ideas that are worth spreading in the campus and hopefully throughout the city.
Oh, I'm back. The planning for our first event actually began in June of 2016. Our organization is completely student-run and organized, which means all of the planning and execution of the event is accomplished completely by our cabinet members and other high school volunteer students. The theme of our event this year is change, and the featured speakers Angelina Sellers, Garrett Liu, and Claire Sowe shared talks to promote positive change in society and culture. It's also important to note that our featured speakers were neither paid nor provided by TED. All 3 of these talks have been recorded, edited, and uploaded to the official TEDx YouTube channel.
So our very first event happened on February 3rd, 2017 after school in room 601, and we had an amazing turnout with over 200 attendees from both the high school and Oak, which mainly consisted of staff and students. Because we wanted to make our event accessible to everyone, our tickets were free, and because we were student-run and organized, our budget was $0.
We are currently creating a new team for the 2018 event since most of the team members are seniors this year. Although we had a successful event, we had some difficulty in accessing technology and equipment from the high school. With the success of our very first event, we hope that we will be able to gain even more support for upcoming events. That is also our email in case you guys want to contact us. Thank you very much for allowing us to speak here. It truly touches our heart that something that we just started like last year has gained your interest, and we do hope to see you guys in our next event. Our next event will hopefully be around the same day in February 2018. Thank you so much.
Before you go away, I knew nothing of your TEDx event. I actually found out through a friend of mine that is a trustee for Pasadena City College. And so she sent me an email and with a link and said, wow, your kids are amazing. That is incredible what I just saw. And I said, where were you? And so she emailed me the information, so then I reached out to the high school and said, tell me what occurred. And so, because I had seen, as I said, the link. So I just want to thank you, and we are completely behind, as I said earlier, with the robotics. It's all about, for us, providing opportunity and giving you, because we realize our students in Temple City, it's just, okay, here we are, we support you, go, and you guys do it. So thank you for venturing out and doing that. We do support you, and just make sure I know, and we'll be there to back you up, and maybe your budget will be like $5 instead of 0. And same with the technology. If things aren't working for you, we want to know that as well, so that when you do an event, that the last thing you should be worrying about is technology. We have a great system in place now. We want to make sure you're supported in that regard. So thank you. We have the same little parting gift for you, and I'll give you enough to give to the rest of your team that's not here. Okay. So you don't get to. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Bell, do you have a comment?
I do, actually. I just want to thank you, young ladies, again for organizing this, but more importantly for thinking of this. I think it's the time that's more than needed, especially in today's society, that they're able to think and help to share ideas and to help their peers to start thinking about things that are relevant in their world and their society, not just today, but for their future. And I think that thought process is healthy. I encourage it amongst your classmates, your peers. I think that you guys can all share and learn so much from this. But I remember I saw and stopped by your event, and at the next board meeting, I ranted and raved about what you guys have done. I mean, I am a TEDx fan, I will admit this, but what you guys have done is really amazing. So again, thank you, and we hope to see you. And as our Superintendent Fernie said, we as a district are behind you guys all the way, so keep up the great work. Thank you so much.
Mr. Giambesi, do you have enough batteries to take the pictures of
Oh,
your bus?
Like a deer roll.
That's like a huge deal.
He's the one master of procrastination. Go home and find that TED Talk.
I'm not happy to do it.
Make sure, find your window, people. Girl walk down this with this brother.
Don't scoot down. Mr. Nolenberg, can you get in between? There we go. Mr. Gould, maybe move over this way and just keep
Yeah, this,
going.
this is,
There you
yeah, find your window
There
between
you
the two
go.
girls.
Right
Like this?
All right, here we go.
Yeah, make sure you know.
have everybody in the back row.
Oh, yeah, now Mr. Gould over there, we're going down.
Yeah. Mr. Pomeroy, just get, Mr. Marshall's not gonna touch you.
Not again.
That's much better, thank you. Great,
I've
thank
got
you.
one with a girl's phone. 1, 2, and 3, 3. Your parents are gonna love this picture, oh my gosh. The world is watching. Thank you both. Thank you.
For next year?
Yes, I'm not gonna.
No, so you saw this.
See you next year.
Please contact me next year. All right. Thanks, you guys. I got the hardcore upstairs.
Right, so moving on, we will continue with item 20, which will be our California School Dashboard presentation. If you would, please.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I wish I could say my presentation will be as brief as some of the others we've seen, but I've got a lot of information to cover here, so I'm going to need my time. So I'm here to talk to you about the new California School Dashboard, which is the accountability system that is replacing the Academic Performance Index that was used as recently as a few years ago and then kind of disappeared, and now we've transitioned into a new thing. And so I'm going to do my best to give you as much background information as I can about it and to explain how it works. Frankly, that's not going to happen perfectly in 15 minutes, so I would welcome any questions that you have, and I can certainly share any resources that are available with you as well. So let's begin with a little bit of that background that I talked about a minute ago. The dashboard is designed to report on school and school district performance in multiple areas, which are referred to as indicators. And I've listed them for you there. Only the middle four, suspension rates, graduation rates, English learner progress, and the academic indicators are currently available. We'll be getting more information about absenteeism and college and career readiness in a few months' time. Currently, there is no accountability system that includes alternative schools, so the data that I'm going to be sharing with you tonight will not apply to the Learning Center. And the jury's still out on exactly what that accountability system will look like, and so when I have more information, I will gladly share that with you. I'll also say and reiterate that the current version of the dashboard, including the information about our performance, is just a field test, and the dashboard, much of the information on the dashboard currently is out of date. It's old data, quite frankly, and the goal of the state is to release more current, updated data to the dashboard on a yearly basis in November. So the plan at the moment is for the dashboard to go live this November with more up-to-date information. Okay.
Just how up-to-date will your information be?
That's a great question, and I don't have the answer yet. More current than it is right now. How about that? Most of the data you're going to see tonight is from the 2014-15 school year. Okay. But the explanation that's been given to me is that the state is working to release that information more quickly, so that the dashboard and the public display of our performance is as up to date as it can be. Okay. All right. So what does the dashboard look like? It's basically a combination of two pieces. The various indicators that I mentioned each have their own colorful matrix on the left. That's a generic version. Each one is a little bit different depending on the indicator. And a school's performance is determined based on a relationship between the school's status in the current year and the change from the previous year. and I'll be going into a little bit more detail about what that looks like for each of the indicators. But basically, once that is determined, it corresponds to a particular box on the matrix, and then that colorful box corresponds to a pi wedge or several pi wedges on that document on the right-hand side. So you can see on the left-hand side we have a high performance that is increased from the previous year. We get a score of green for that indicator, and that corresponds to a green pi on the document on the right there. Okay. So I mentioned status versus change. The status is a district, school, or student group's current performance level. And there are 5 of them: very high, high, medium, low, and very low. And change is the difference in that current performance from the prior year or from a multi-year average. So you'll see that some of the indicators, particularly the English learner indicator, for example, we're looking at multiple years of data to come up with the information there. So there are 5 change levels: increase significantly, increase, maintain, decline, decline significantly. It's also important to note that depending on the indicator, we may want to increase or decrease. So for example, in the suspension indicator, obviously we're looking for those numbers to go down. Graduation rates or academic indicators, obviously we want those numbers to increase. So as I mentioned, we've got status up on the left side, change across, and the result is this sort of 25 performance level matrix for each indicator. And again, each one is different, and I'm going to go into here in a minute exactly what that looks like. Before I do that, I'll say that the goal that has been articulated by the state of California is that schools and school districts will be scoring green. They'll be happy with green. Anything below green is in need of improvement. Okay? So this is the fun part of the presentation when I get to describe to you a bunch of complicated mathematical formulas. And I'll preface this part of the presentation by saying I was a theater teacher. So numbers and formulas don't exactly come naturally to me, but I'll do my best. So we'll start with the suspension rate indicator. Generally speaking, we're looking at the number of students who were suspended in a particular year. This data is looking at 2014-15, divided by the enrollment from that year, multiplied by 100. That will determine the status. The change, it's a simple one. It's the 2014-15 rate minus the 2013-14 rate. Okay, so again, that's going up the left side of the matrix and across the top for the change. Okay. English learner progress is a little more complicated. We're looking at students' performance on the CELT to determine the status. So students who increase at least 1 level on the CELT in the years 2013-14 and 2014-15, plus CELT takers who maintained early advanced or advanced or are top scorers on the CELT in those years, plus English learners who were reclassified, who met the criteria to be reclassified in 2013-14. That number is divided by the total number of annual CELT takers plus ELs who were reclassified in the prior year. I told you, it's simple, right? You can do this in your sleep. So that determines the status, and again, the change is those results from 2013-14, 2014-15, as well as those redesignated students, minus the same information from the prior year. Okay? Everybody with me? All right, so before I talk about the academic indicators, I need to give you a little bit of background information about distance from level 3 and what that means exactly. Okay, so under the old accountability model, we focused a lot on students who were proficient. How many students are proficient? And what the state decided was that by focusing only on proficient students, we were ignoring the performance of a lot of other students, in many cases students who had greater needs than those students who were proficient. So what they decided to do was look at the students' distance from proficiency. So the way that the CAST test is scored, Level 3 indicates standard met. Those are students who are on grade level, who are performing as we would hope them to perform. And basically, we calculate a number that is either above or below the cut score that determines level 3 for each grade level. Okay? So just to reiterate that, each grade level, has a score range. The state determines what the cut score for proficiency is for that particular grade level, and then we look at the distance from level 3, the distance from proficiency in that grade level. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. And then what we do to determine the academic indicator then is that we look at the sum of all those grades, 3rd through 8, and their distance from level 3 on the 2016 SBAC. So the academic indicators are currently the only indicators that are up to date. This is last year's data. Okay? So we take the sum of 3rd through 8th grade and their distance from level 3, and we divide it by the total number of 3rd through 8th grade students who tested in 2016.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't have my acronym sheet here. What's SBAC?
SBAC is the Smarter Balanced Assessments. This is the state exam. I use that term interchangeably with CASP. It's the state tests, English and math. Okay, and this year's science, yay. You're also probably wondering, well, what happened to 11th grade? 11th graders test as well. That information will be used to determine the college and career readiness indicator, which is not been released yet. So we'll get that information in November as well. Okay, so we've got our status to determine the change. Rather, we're looking at the 2016 status minus the prior year's status. Moving into graduation rate. Graduation rate indicator is focused on cohorts of students. So if you think of students as going through high school for 4 years, as they obviously do, we're looking at the number of students who earned a high school diploma in 2014-15 divided by the number of first-time 9th graders in 2011-12. So in other words, the same cohort, 3 years earlier. Okay? Plus, we're going to add in any students who transferred in during those 4 years, and we're going to subtract any students who transferred out during those 4 years. Okay? That's how we determine status. Change then is the status of that cohort for 2015 minus the class of 2012 graduates, 2013 graduates, 2014 graduates, divided by the number of students in those classes. So basically that same kind of formula for the prior 3 years. Okay? I know that's complicated. And that's going to give us the change. So, we're done with the formulas. You can breathe a sigh of relief. This is our current dashboard. This is one of multiple reports that will be available. And I'm pleased to report that we look pretty good. We did well. Okay, our suspension rate is green, obviously. Our status is very low. And the change is that it increased slightly, under 1%. Our English learner progress is also green. Our status is high, and it increased. That's good. Graduation rates is obviously a big standout for us. We did extremely well. We already were looking good, and we increased by 2.2%. College and career readiness isn't available yet. Our English language arts, we did well. High, status of high, and it increased by 10.6 points. That's great. And mathematics, also high, and it increased by 5.3 points. So we're looking quite good in that. As I said before, we're striving for green in all areas, and we are green or above in all areas for the district. Okay. Now you can also see a report like this for each of the school sites in the district, with the exception of the Learning Center. And if you'd like to look at that information, I've got a link at the end of the presentation where you can find it, or I'd be happy to share that with anyone. Okay. So I want to just say a word briefly about the reports that will be available, and I'm not going to talk a lot about it other than to say that there are 4 reports that will be available on the dashboard. Currently, only one of them is available. It's the one I just showed you, the status and change report. But this is basically going to allow us to hone in on different aspects of our performance to increase transparency. So the equity report that you see a little example of here on the screen is basically going to show the performance of different student groups. So you get an overall performance, and then you see the total number of student groups, subgroups that make up that score, and the number of those student groups who were scored in red or orange. So basically it's helping you to identify those student groups who are having the greatest difficulty, okay? The status change report I just showed you, basically you get a look at the status and change in the relationship between those numbers that determines the overall performance of the school or school district. And then the last two reports are a detailed report which gives you performance over time. This is our fourth year administering the CASP or the SBAC. So we're going to have 3 data points, okay, that we'll potentially be able to look back at. The first year of CASP was a practice year, so there were no scores. So we actually have some historical data to look at, so it's going to be interesting to see how that detailed report looks when it comes out. The other report is the student group report, which will allow us to look more closely at those student subgroups, English learners, special education students, and so forth, a little bit more closely, okay? The last thing I want to talk about, and then I promise you I'll go away, is that we are also responsible as a district for looking at local indicators. These are areas that the data is not collected at the state level or is not available at the state level, and so it's our responsibility to collect and report on the data. All of these indicators, both state and local, correspond with our LCAP goals. So they're things that we're already talking about, it's information we're already looking at, it's just the reporting is a little different, okay? So look, I've got a typo in my presentation, nobody say anything. Basically, the idea is that with the local indicators, the accountability is a little different. We're basically responsible for reporting the data. We're responsible for collecting the data, okay? Then reporting the results of that data at a regularly scheduled meeting with the Board of Education, and then we're responsible for uploading that data to the dashboard. If we do that, we've met the standard, and we get to say that we've met it. If we don't do that, it's not met, and then there's also the not met for 2 or more years. And I think I speak for all of us when I say we won't fall into that category. So for the LEAs, the local educational agencies that receive a MET rating, local data will be included in that dashboard report that I showed you, okay? So the last slide here is those links that I mentioned. The top link there is a link to the dashboard itself, and then there is also a technical guide available that has a lot more detailed information about how the formulas I shared with you work, and specifically, what we're looking at. So if you're a details person, that's the place to go, and I'd be happy to talk to any of you about that, I'm sure, a few minutes. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Please.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I think maybe all of us have caught wind of the dashboard a little bit, or had a presentation elsewhere, but this is really helpful, especially the calculation part, to see how it's done. And the fact that sometimes we're comparing to last year, and sometimes we're comparing to the last 3 years. That's a detail that I wasn't aware of, so thanks for laying that out for us. Just to clarify then, the equity report sample that's in here, that's not our...
That is not ours. That is a generic sample that the state has posted on the website.
Okay.
That's a report that will not be available most likely until November.
Sure. Okay. Good. Good. I guess I just maybe had a question, and I'm not sure. If it's a question that's easy to answer, but when we look at the pie chart, the little Trivial Pursuit
right.
game piece, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
All right. Remember that, Vince? Okay. Except they're all the same color. Aren't supposed to get each different color.
Right.
Anyway. And it's easy to sort of zoom in and say, okay, well, this is important, I guess, this is important, but look, the test performance, that's what I want, because that's what we want from our schools, is only test performance. And so I wonder, on one hand, whether the instinct might be for the community to do that, or for some people to do that. But my question really is, in the old API, we just got the one number. Did that take into account some of the other things? Did it take into account suspensions? Did it take into account graduation, things like that?
Sure, so it was taking into account several different factors. I can't speak intelligently about exactly how they correspond to these specific measures, but it certainly was looking at different student subgroups and how they performed on academically and other elements that applied to schools and school districts. So it was there. I think the difference here is that the dashboard is much more transparent, and folks can see that a lot more easily than they could under the old system. And that's both a blessing and a curse, because it's great that we have, our students are performing well, our schools are excellent schools, and that's reflected in our dashboard. There are instances though where those colored pies, I don't think that's necessarily true in Temple City, but the colored pies can actually sort of misrepresent how a school is performing. So for example, I mentioned status and change. If you have a student or a school rather, that's performing very high, and they're off just by 1 or 2%, something that maybe in the past we would have said is statistically insignificant, that might end up with a yellow score. So even though the school is performing very high, there's more complicated information there. So I think it's important, and I've already shared this information with the school administrators to make sure that they're able to speak to parents who may have questions about specific schools, but it's important that we're able to speak intelligently about exactly what the data is telling us.
Thank you for that, and I would just say, at least for me, because of the transparency, which is, I think, certainly a good goal, and as more data comes, and I see, I guess they've even required that things be presented to us at a regularly scheduled board meeting.
Right.
So that we're looking forward to that. But I know that there will always be somewhere in there a particular subgroup that maybe has a challenge this year. And I look forward to just hearing about that and hearing what our plans are for improvement. And there will be situations like that. And so I hope that will still be reported to us so that we can understand areas where we need to improve.
Actually, I was wondering if you might happen to notice now, you had mentioned that the reporting is local because all the data that we have stays within the districts. I was wondering, has the state mentioned anything as far as to cross-check validity of information? I'm not saying that, you do anything, but
Right.
I'm just curious about their mechanics.
That's a great question. So actually the reporting of the local indicators, which are the ones that we're responsible for providing the information, are done via narrative. And it's basically an opportunity for us to describe how we are meeting those standards or meeting those LCAP goals. And so it's, in that sense, sort of less data-driven. I mean, obviously you're going to be referencing certain areas and information, but the actual reporting for the dashboard is through a narrative description.
All right, thank you.
I would also like to add that in the LCAP we have measurement indicators that we'll be looking at. So every year when we go back, we look to see whether we accomplished a particular goal. So for example, if we're talking about having teachers aligned in their areas, their credentials aligned with what they're teaching, we can look for the data. So we can look in CalPAS, we can look through the data we might have in business, if we have basic services, or in human resources. So there are all those elements that we use, and many of those pieces that we will capture are also captured by the state of California in some of our accounting technology areas like CalPAS and areas.
Thank you very much for that explanation, Doctor, because it's pretty complicated.
It's complicated stuff, for sure.
Yeah, but I want to say your math, the formula, I understood it.
Oh, good. That makes one of us.
Yes, when you get to the very high, there's only one direction you can go, that's down, right? So what happens year after year if you're really very high?
Well, when you reach a certain level, maintaining is enough, is the simple answer. So if you're doing extremely well and you're staying there, you'll be blue. You'll be blue.
And then also, what happens when one school, say Oak, has a dip in population for one of the grade levels, which 3 or 4 years later will be reflected in high school? What happens with the statistics when you look ahead?
So you're talking about a particular student group that doesn't perform as well as another?
What
or?
happens if a certain group it gets lower or higher because there's a flux of people? Or
So
age area?
currently, and I don't know if there are plans to revisit this at the state level, but we only test students in high school in the 11th grade. So we're comparing a group of 11th graders to the prior year's group of 11th graders. And so you're going to see some variability there, unfortunately.
Does this allow for any other comments, like for our scores? Is there any place where there's footnotes or some explanation of how we got to where we got?
That's a great question. There has been discussion about being able to add some narrative pieces to the state indicators, particularly in areas where there are maybe some anomalous data points or there may be some cause for confusion to be able to add some.
Like suspension, we're very low on suspension.
Right.
I don't know if that's good or bad. Based upon this, we're not blue, are we?
We are low in suspensions. We are doing well there. But I will say that if you begin to look into some of the individual school performances, you do get into some of those anomalous data points that I'm talking about, where in a particular year, maybe, 3 English learners were suspended, and the prior year there had been 0. And so that looks bad for that particular cohort of students. And so it's something that we need to look at and watch closely and make sure that we're approaching each discipline decision with the proper equity and equity considerations at heart. I think that's the best explanation I can give.
I'd also like to add that this is a quantitative document for the most part. The brilliance of it is when we come back to the board or when the schools present to the school site council or their other parent organizations and teacher organizations and student organizations, you can then have those conversations around it, which will be built into the plans that schools will develop. So it really leaves the opportunity for it to just not be the one point of information, but we can elaborate on it and then develop plans for structuring our next steps, whatever those may be.
Yeah, just to reiterate, I mean, one of the sort of genius of this system is that it corresponds so directly with our LCAP and the way that we write our school plans that you can really respond to a particular issue like the ones that you're describing in creating your plan for the following year.
Any other questions?
The other one, I guess, is a lot of times it seems like the number is very low for the number of people who took the test. Is that typical?
Can you be more specific?
Well, like some of them where it talks like maybe 3 or 4 people took the test or something.
Oh, sure, right. So
the equity report, I guess that's so.
Right. Well, so the equity report is referring to student groups. So you'll have a score, say, for the suspension rate, and you'll have your piece of pie or your Trivial Pursuit pieces to receive a score. And then it'll tell you, the equity report tells you how many student groups made up that score. So you'll have your English learners, you'll have your special education students, you'll have socioeconomically disadvantaged students, and so forth. And each one of those groups is represented by that number. So
when it says 9, or when it says
right, we're not talking about 9 students, we're talking about 9 groups of students who fall into one of those subcategories.
Are we going to be going by district groups and stuff, or individual schools and stuff? How is it?
Well, the dashboard covers both. So the numbers that I've shown you tonight are for the district, but as I mentioned, each school site does get its own report. And so I think the answer to your question is somewhere in between. Obviously the school sites are going to be responding to their specific data and the reports that they receive. to hone in on their specific individual needs. But you know, the district report is going to create the opportunity for some philosophical discussions and decision making that will obviously impact those things as well. So there's some middle ground.
When will they be publishing this report?
So currently they're saying every November.
After the budget's done, after,
Right.
all our, the LCAP and the LC.
Right, and to be honest with you, I have reason to believe that it may actually be more like December 1st than November. So, something to keep
So
in mind.
this will be after the fact, in a sense.
I think it's
This
gonna,
won't- This won't help us, in a sense, decide how to spend the budget money, will it?
not necessarily. I mean, I think that it's gonna require some shifts in the way that we do business, for sure.
Well, it is closer to when we plan for the next year. So it will inform the LCAP process that begin. When does the LCAP process begin approximately?
Well, it starts when we find and present to you for your approval for the budget and the LCAP plan.
Right.
Then we'll do an update with the data probably in the following week of that. And then periodically we'll do updates as we've done with dashboard, and then we're getting ready to present again. The information that we got last fall about the ELA math will be dropped into this current LCAP template that we are now beginning to use that mirrors this dashboard document. Some of the things that we know, we also want to be mindful of certain student subgroups, and also just our best practices of how we continue to do things that increase student performance in all of these areas. So as we speak to some of the goals in the LCAP plan, we might consider standards under basic services, but also student engagement and achievement. We're doing that through some of the 21st century opportunities that we're giving our kids right now. So there's a definite blending and intertwining of all of the pieces that we do. So this gives us the opportunity to maybe pull out those threads and look at them under a fine microscope, but really when we start looking at this and when you really dive deep into what the LCAP's done, I've been looking at this for a while now, it allows us to really see the integration of all of the goals and all of the efforts that are disaggregated here, but in total really end up creating a whole student, and that's what we want. And so just looking at this two isolated ELA math didn't give us all that we wanted in terms of reflecting who our students are and who we are in this district and our culture and our values on behalf of our students.
You know, I'll also say too, with regard to your question, you know, even though the dashboard will be released every year in November, we'll have much of the data before then. And so we'll be able to anticipate where we'll fall on the dashboard in a given year much earlier than that release.
Before the budget?
I mean, currently we get preliminary academic numbers in July or August, and they're usually finalized in early fall. So, you know, we'll have some time to work with them.
We probably would also have some gross or raw data in some of the elements that we keep here. So once again, even though the state may have that as an indicator, we pretty much have information about what some of those elements may be. So
Should
that
we
will be
as
helpful.
a board then be looking at some review period in December when this comes out? To look over some of the documents and make some change of course, correction or anything? Well,
That's really our job to do that for you and make recommendations and suggestions, because we're not just going to obviously follow the data. We're constantly discussing, reviewing, and ascertaining, do we need to make changes? Should we bring in additional programs? Do we need to come to you and say there's a need for a change of direction? So that's really on us from a staff side to make sure we're giving you the best information and not having you be in a situation where you're making those determinations.
Yeah, actually, yes, I think that's absolutely true. All these years, at least the time that I've been here, this is a constant ongoing process, and we do get a lot of updates, and we are always course correcting throughout the entire school year, even through the summertime. I kind of see this dashboard personally more as I don't know, a presentation piece, and I think generally for the public and maybe for families or students. But I think for us as a district, staff and otherwise, we have a pretty good sense of where we are and how we're doing. So, yeah, I mean, that's how I interpret the dashboard. And I'm sure that, a lot of the information is relevant and it's important, but I also think that it's more of a validation in some ways. So, yeah.
Do you see each of the school sites having to do some presentation to parents on the DASH system?
I wouldn't necessarily encourage each school site to do a presentation. I think, like I said before, I would just hope that every site administrator was prepared to talk about, what the data is telling them and what they're doing to respond to those talking points, if you will.
Okay, if there's any more questions, we should be moving on. Thank you very much, it was very informative. All right, we'll move on to item 21. We're in our discussion action agenda, items that may require discussion, but upon which the board is expected to take action during tonight's meeting. I move that we approve the notice of completion and release of retention to JB Bostic Company for the Cloverly Elementary School paving project. Seconded by Mr. Nollenberg. Any questions or comments? Do you have anything to add, Dan?
It does look great. If you guys have seen both sites, it did come out really good. Excuse me, we had to delay the finishing of them, the actual sealing and permanent stripe, because of the rainy season during the winter. And the temperature has to be, the temperature can't be too low in order to apply the sealer. So we kept having to wait and push it out and push it out. Finally, we were able to do it.
All right, if there's no more questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's 5-0. I move that we approve the notice of completion and release of retention to JB Bostic and Company for the Oak Avenue Intermediate School paving project. Second by Mr. Nollenberg. Any comments or questions? Nothing?
No,
Okay.
nothing else.
I think it looks good.
Yes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the adjustments for 2016-2017 district budget?
So,
Who, Mr. Gould, move. Second by Mr. Nollenberg. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. I will move that we approve the opening of the public hearing for the College and Readiness Grant.
Second.
Who seconded that? Seconded by Mr. Bell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. We are now in the public hearing. Dr. Kissel.
I'll make sure I bring everything with me in case you have a question.
Each person in the audience has to say one thing.
So good evening again. Last fall, the state provided one-time funding for college readiness to high schools based on unduplicated students from our student numbers from the 2015-16 school year. As defined in the title of the grant, the funds are to be used to increase the number of students enrolling in college and completing degrees within 4 years. A stipulation of the grant was that the district design a plan to develop new opportunities that lead students into completing their A through G requirements so that they can enroll in and complete a degree in 4 years. The plan had to align with our LCAP goal, and we heard a little bit about that as we talked about the dashboard. Based on this criteria, Ed Services collaborated with the high schools in preparation for the plan that we have before you today. It has a zero fiscal impact. It was lovely because we feel like about $140,000 just dropped from like manna into our account. And so with that, we recommend approval for the plan for the college readiness block grant. Are there any questions?
Mr. Plummer, please.
Thank you. So the amount was based on just the number of students we had at the secondary level, was that?
Correct,
Is that right?
in grades 9 through 12, and that was based on CalCAS data that was given to the state for 15, 16 students.
Right, right, oh, good, okay. But this is a one-time amount which is intended to be expended between 2016 and 2019.
Correct.
Okay. I like the plan. Are we are we having a public hearing and then approving it at another meeting?
That's correct. We're public hearing tonight, and then a subsequent meeting, we will approve, or we'll have a vote for approval.
Quick question. In here, the numbers you have, it doesn't have anything for salaries at all, so none of the grant money is going towards salaries?
Because of the amount and because of the one-time fund situation, we felt that it would be a focus on providing opportunities for the materials and supplies for programs that we currently have in place for the most part.
And we can use the supplies in that, 'cause after the period, the grant period ends, right?
Depending on what kind of supplies they are. So for example, some of our seminar courses that we have that help align our college, our CTE, which could potentially be a pathway to college, we have utilized these funds for materials for those projects. So then we can release funds to go to other directions for our students.
This is a public hearing, so if there's any questions from the audience, you're free to.
I noticed on here that the PSAT seems to be a really large chunk of this budget, and I just was wondering about the rationale for making that one of the components.
So one of the things that the high schools had talked about doing, and this would be a collaborative effort for all of our high school students, would be to have Temple City University. And that's just an opportunity, so as kids are transitioning out of 8th grade and all through their high school years, we would have various opportunities for them really and their families and their parents to discover the pathways to college. So one of the things that the PSAT does for 10th graders is it gives them not only where they are, particularly for math and English language arts, but it gives them kind of a charting strategy of what to do for next steps. And so it has been found that that could be one opportunity to gain more learning and more knowledge about the pathway to entering college. Many of the students who maybe are first time, our parents are providing that opportunity for the first time for students, may not know any of those structures. And they just may come to their senior year under normal circumstances and then find out that they have to take an SAT and not really understand what is required or those other pieces that might be helpful to them for college. So that would be one, and it would go for, I believe, annually testing our 10th graders.
So the district pays to test every 10th grader?
Yes.
Because we now test every 8th grader and give them the PSAT?
Yes.
So that huge amount of money for the 8th grade does not come out of this grant?
No.
Mr. Palmer?
Thank you, yeah, and it's, the PSAT 8 or whatever they call it is a different test, is that right? It's one aimed for 8th graders.
Yes.
Well, I you know, my daughter's in 10th grade, and talking to her and hearing about some of her friends, I was pretty surprised with how many of them didn't know about the PSAT in 10th grade. And, you know, I think taking it, and then you have an opportunity to take the PSAT again in 11th grade, which has various consequences and things that you can be eligible for, but you know, the number of students who were very good students, you know, but weren't aware of it in the 10th grade was somewhat surprising to me. So I applaud the effort to encourage more students in the 10th grade to take it. Would that, so that would be really administering it to all 10th graders?
Yes. The thing that I would also say about that is, and this is a personal story, is that my niece went through taking that, and before that, even though we had college graduates in her family, I think that wasn't their family's focus, but she was able to take that test. It once again reaffirmed the high levels that she was. She was a GATE student, but didn't rise to that potential until the PSAT 8. It became a tool for counselors, it became a tool for her own internal motivations, and all of that combined really created structure so that when she did take the SAT, she was able to apply for schools like Stanford and be accepted. And I think that had that piece not been there, and the pathway that they suggested for her, or where it showed where the gaps were and where the strengths were, that might have been a different story.
Did she get into UCLA?
She went to Texas A&M.
Okay, well, you know, not everybody can be a pro, right? But it's not everybody can be a pro. I mean, I think I probably have some questions about some of the other details, but mostly I just want to thank you and the department and the principals for getting together to put the plan together. So this is not something specifically that has to go through the same LCAP process as far as being approved by the DAC and the DLAC, et cetera, but is prepared by administrators to coincide, align with the LCAP,
Right.
et cetera.
So once again, this was a little bit of manna that came down, and then literally they said, you have this money, write a plan after the fact, and so we did not want to say no to money that would support our children, but we did want to collaborate. The other thing that we wanted to share is that really, as we're looking particularly like at this program for the TC University, this gives us the opportunity to really engage our parents, really, and our students. So going back to goal 3 of the LCAP plan, but in anything that was designed here, we really wanted to make sure that it hit all elements of the goals that we currently have and probably will have based on what we know as our needs for our community. I also want to point out that we really try to take the opportunity to see what we could do in support of alternative at Sears Learning Center. So we will be able to give them an item that they had identified in their WASC last year, and that was in being able to set up a structure for CTE pathways. So this provides that opportunity as a windfall as well.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm a Temple City High School student's parent. I'm also been at other districts too, and I'm wondering, would it just break the piggy bank if this kind of grant funded the SAT? Because like you have all these students that PSAT is obviously helpful, but they do take the SAT, so is that just not, would it be a part of that grant, or the AP exams? Would that be something that this kind of grant could cover in the future? I understand you have these plans for now.
Right.
Just asking.
This is one time, so if we have other opportunities from the state, then it would be the same collaborative process to see what other elements that we could and should support based on what we know through our LCAP and what we know about our current students. The nice thing about this current one is it really captures, the idea of this is to capture our students early, capture them in 8th grade, capture them before that SAT senior year, to build their capacity to want to be involved with that SAT piece. If we left that just at the end, we're not sure if we would capture those students whose parents didn't know or they didn't realize it until it was deeper into the game. We do have other elements of the school that we work with the students with, but this would just be more intensive, meeting that whole idea of making sure that our students are going, completing A through G, going to do this. Part of our LCAP 2 is really make sure that more of our students are involved with AP coursework. So in providing opportunities through this and discovering their strengths and their areas where they may need more work, that may provide openings and opportunities for that. One of the other things that we have here is opening some different opportunities for them in math. So if some of them can go further and want to go further, we have those opportunities as well. Finally, the last piece I just wanted to share with you is we wanted to get some data on what our students were doing after they left us. And so we are trying to use this as well with the post-secondary national clearinghouse so that we can see where our students are going, what they're getting degrees in, so that once again, completing that circle, we can find out what more we may want to offer. We've heard that students go and they have been thankful for the STEAM programs that we have provided, but if we can get very detailed information from more of our students, that would help us. Thank you.
Do you have any more questions? This is a public open hearing. More questions? All right, I move that we close the public hearing for the college readiness grant.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nollenberg. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
I move that we approve resolution 1617-17, authorizing memberships in educational societies, associations, and organizations for 2017-2018. Second by Mr. Nollenberg. Kathy, do you add anything to this?
Not unless the members of the board have any questions. This is a requirement in order for us to continue to be able to have subscriptions and memberships through various organizations that either you as a board indicate your desire to be part of, or school sites in order for them to be able to access these opportunities through. It's required that, and each of the school sites was contacted indicating their desire either to continue some subscriptions and dues. They opted not to have, others are additions, so this is just a requirement.
Does a membership like in the Chamber of Commerce or the Kiwanis and that, is that good for everybody that's at the school district?
It depends on if there's a desire from those particular sites. So if you see, for example, a smaller amount on there, it may be just there's one, there might be multiple. It's based on what we're told is the intent or the interest. It's not a one, does not cover. No, but it does give us the opportunity. So for example, if people wanted to join Kiwanis, for example, then it's already approved to join Kiwanis. We don't have to come back and say because it is one of the items that was previously approved by the board. Does that answer your question? It's so because we wouldn't necessarily join everyone in Kiwanis if people didn't want to do that. Not that it's not a great organization, but their choice may be to have one representative from the district or two representatives from the district. Regardless, by law, we have to publicly declare there is an interest.
Is there any group that's been added or taken away?
From this particular listing, no.
Any other questions? Ms. Emerald, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, Member Bell.
Yes.
Mr. Gould, Member Gould, sorry.
Yes.
Member Nollenberg.
Yes.
Member Marston.
Yes.
And Member Palmer.
Yes.
Moving on, I move that we approve resolution 1617-18, excusing Mr. Bell's absence from the March 22, 2017 regular board meeting.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nollenberg. Any questions? Ms. Emerald, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Sure. Member Bell.
Abstain?
Member Gould.
Yes.
Member Nollenberg.
Yes.
Member Marston.
Yes.
And Member Palmer.
Yes.
Okay. I move that we receive board policies for second reading and approval. New board policy 4033, board policy 4119, all the board policies listed in our 727 of our agenda.
One second.
Seconded by Mr. Bell. Any questions? This is our second reading. We received this at our last meeting in March. So we've had the month to go over these. Tonight's the night to approve these.
I do have a question. Regarding the administering of medication, I believe that maybe around this time last year, or was it even earlier in the school year, we had modified a policy in response to a concern, well, it related to a concern from a particular family. So not having had any more information reported to us, I assume that those situations have been going well. So I guess since the topic is here, I just thought I might ask if there's any, those situations have indeed been going well.
We continue to modify regarding, because medications and student needs changes in regards to that particular situation. Since that time, we have added multiple students requiring varied levels of medication and administering of such. So, so to generally say it's improved, yes, it has. Yet we continue to have additional students that require medication at varying levels, and so we have our district nurse, and when need be, we bring in additional nursing resources to address varying needs of students, and because it's a very fluid situation as students are identified or their needs change.
Thank you. And this policy as proposed would facilitate that?
Correct.
Good, okay, well, thank you for that. I hadn't really indicated I'd be asking about that. I appreciate that information, thank you.
Was the motion seconded? I didn't hear.
By Bell.
Mr. Bell, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. I move that we receive board policy for first reading, board policy 5030, student wellness.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Pomeroy. Again, this is the first reading. We will discuss it at our next meeting for a vote of approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. All right, moving on to our consent agenda. Routine items approved by one motion and one vote, unless a member of the board or audience requests that an item be reviewed and voted upon separately. Are there any requests?
I request that item 31 move for separately.
Okay, we'll remove items 31 from consent for separate consideration. Mr. Bell?
And I would also like to have item 30 to be voted upon separately, please.
Okay, thank you. I will move that we approve the consent agenda items 29, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Gould. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. I will move that we approve item 30, the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Education for March 22, 2017.
I'll second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Bell. Any questions? Sorry, Mr. Palmer, my apologies. Senior moments again tonight. Any questions concerning the meeting minutes? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and
I abstain.
Mr. Bell abstains. 4 ayes, Mr. Bell abstains. I will move that we approve the payroll documents, warrants, contracts, and purchase orders, item 31 of the consent agenda.
Second.
I thought we were going to have a discussion.
We will once we get a second.
Okay.
Seconded by Mr. Bell. Any discussion on item 31?
Sure. And someone was mentioning the warrants that the person conflicts on them to abstain from.
Okay. Any other questions concerning item 31?
Yeah, I had a couple of them. Where it gets down to whatever you want to call these, is this supposed to reflect
a given period or the total, a bill that was paid during that period? You follow? It says it's March 14th through April 12th, I think it is.
Can you give us a specific example, since we didn't have this question ahead of time, so we can answer you correctly?
Well, it's like utilities, for long, the utilities, like $120,000 or something. But it doesn't seem like that would be just for water at one school for 1 month. Maybe it is, I don't know.
Can you help us, Mr. Nover, with a
I'm
particular
trying to
number?
find it now. 380, try 380, somewhere in that area. Page 10. Page 14.
So the last page,
You're right.
which page? 10 of 14?
Ms. Farrell has a response for you, Mr. Nover.
So I apologize, I can't tell you what period that covers, but I'd be very happy to look that up and send that to you.
No, but I mean, the thing is that these are what the bills that came in for that period, for a 1 month period.
Yes,
But they don't necessarily reflect the cost of that one period.
correct.
I will remind the board, however, along those lines that we are under construction. And so you will see varying utilities at various, with various discrepancies in amounts of money depending on construction and where work is occurring over time.
Makes perfect sense.
I had a different question. If I may. So in the contracts, I see City of Rosemead, so agreement for pool rental for high school athletes during the aquatic center construction. And so that period of the contract is expected June of this year, basically through the end of next school year. Is that right?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Due to the construction of the aquatic center.
Thank you.
If there's no more questions, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, it's 4, and Mr. Gould abstained. Okay, any last board member comments?
Is comments same as requests?
Yes, item 38, list of board comments. Mr. Gould?
No.
Mr. Nover?
Yes. I guess this is more of a trend. The trend is really the declining in enrollments. In 13-14, we had almost 6,000 students, 6,001, and now we're down to 5885. The biggest jump was the 14-15 next year, but we're down 116 students. I'm just wondering, the trend is the one that concerns me. Is the trend is down? Is this continuing, or are we looking forward to seeing the trend being reversed? Self-related discussion. And the other one is to I guess, taking a look at our PR. It seems like we still haven't managed to be able to tell the general public and ourselves what events are happening on a regular basis. And it's very difficult to figure out what is happening, even with a number of calendars. And I don't know, maybe if we go digital, it'll solve the problem. But when will that happen? And are we gonna do some more on our PR? For instance, are we gonna have pictures with our write-ups that we send to the newspapers to print, et cetera? Because it seemed like a lot of papers and a lot of the vehicles that are out there want some type of picture along with the narrative. For some reason, I don't know.
Mr. Bell?
I don't have any requests.
Mr. Pomeroy?
No, thank you.
I have no comments. Okay, I move that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gould, is that right? No. Mr. Nolan, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Adjourned.